August 4, 2024. 18th Sunday in Ordinary Time. A reading from the Book of Exodus. In those days, the whole congregation of the people of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness, and the people of Israel said to them, "Would that we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the meat pots and ate bread to the full, for you have brought us out into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Behold, I am about to rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day, that I may test them, whether they will walk in my law or not. I have heard the grumbling of the people of Israel. Say to them, at twilight you shall eat meat, and in the morning you shall be filled with bread. Then you shall know that I am the Lord your God." In the evening quail came up and covered the camp, and in the morning dew lay around the camp. And when the dew had gone up, there was on the face of the wilderness a fine, flake-like thing, fine as frost on the ground. When the people of Israel saw it, they said to one another, "What is it?" For they did not know what it was. And Moses said to them, "It is the bread that the Lord has given you to eat." The word of the Lord. Responsorial Psalm. Respond is, the Lord gave them bread from heaven. The things we have heard and understood, the things our fathers have told us, but will tell them to the next generation, the glories of the Lord and his might. The Lord gave them bread from heaven. Yet he commanded the clouds above, and opened the gates of heaven. He rained down manna to eat, and gave them bread from heaven. The Lord gave them bread from heaven. Man ate the bread of angels. He sent them abundance of food, so he brought them to his holy land, to the mountain which his right hand had won. The Lord gave them bread from heaven. A reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Ephesians. Brethren, this I say and testify in the Lord, that you must no longer walk as the Gentiles do, in the futility of their minds. But that is not the way you learned Christ. Assuming that you have heard about him and were taught in him, as the truth is in Jesus. Put off your old nature which belongs to your former manner of life and is corrupt through deceitful desires, and to be renewed in the spirit of your minds, and put on the new self, created after the likeness of God in true righteousness and holiness. The word of the Lord. Alleluia, alleluia. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. Alleluia. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. At that time, when the crowd saw that Jesus was not there, nor his disciples, they themselves got into the boats and went to Capernaum, seeking Jesus. When they found him on the other side of the lake, they said to him, "Rabbi, when did you come here?" Jesus answered them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, you are seeking me, not because you saw signs, but because you ate your fill of the loaves. Do not work for the food that perishes, but for the food that endures to eternal life, which the Son of Man will give to you. For on him God the Father has set his seal." Then they said to him, "What must we do, to be doing the works of God?" Jesus answered them, "This is the work of God, that you believe in him whom he has sent." So they said to him, "Then what sign do you do, that we may see, and believe you? What work do you perform? Our fathers ate the manna in the wilderness, as it is written, he gave them bread from heaven to eat." Jesus then said to them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, it was not Moses who gave you the bread from heaven, my Father gives you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is he who comes down from heaven and gives life to the world." They said to him, "Sir, give us this bread always." Jesus said to them, "I am the bread of life, whoever comes to me shall not hunger, and whoever believes in me shall never thirst." The Gospel of the Lord. Reflection. Our lives are filled with so many competitions and challenges which lead us to cultivate physical hunger though we have enough for a day. Our worry about the physical hunger makes us to forget God, forego our spiritual activities and fail to realize of our total dependence on God. Like the Israelites, we too are receiving various gifts and favors from God every day, but we take it for granted and grumble within our hearts that our God had abandoned us, and within us develop a diminishing gratitude. In the Gospel, the multiplication of the loaves which fed 5,000 men was bound to recall to the minds of the multitude the bread from heaven which God had given to their ancestors in the desert. Though people remember God's providence and though they saw many miracles performed by Jesus, they still sought Jesus for physical hunger and not for spiritual hunger. This diminishing gratitude of people hurt Jesus. Thus today we are called to change our priority, as how Paul calls us in the second reading, that we have to renew in the spirit of our minds and put on a new nature. Let us now explore the answer for our life through Jesus in 3 important points. Jesus as a daily food. The principal food of the Jews was bread, which was made from wheat or barley. The process of making bread was so well known to the Jews that Jesus often refers to it in his teachings. This can be noticed during the temptation of Jesus. Man does not live on bread alone. In the Lord's Prayer, "Give us today our daily bread," and last Sunday's Gospel Jesus uses the bread as a means for multiplication, and in today's Gospel he declares that he is the bread of life. Hence Jesus prepares his followers to accept him as the bread of life. By using the symbol of bread such as simple, ordinary, and daily food, Jesus becomes the ordinary, daily, spiritual food of his followers. Jesus is our real satisfaction. Jesus' response in the Gospel can be divided into 2. A. He reminded them that it was not Moses who had given them the manna but it was God. B. He clarified them that the manna was not really the bread of God. It was only the symbol of the bread of God. The bread of God was he who came down from heaven and gave men not simply satisfaction from physical hunger, but life. Jesus claims that the only real satisfaction was in him. Jesus quenches our spiritual hunger. Though bread is essential for survival, we do not live by bread alone. Ultimately, our hunger is a hunger for God. As St. Augustine expresses, our hearts are restless, until they rest in God. Material hunger cannot satisfy this hunger. As bread sustains physical life, it is Jesus who sustains divine life in us. Just as we fill our stomachs with physical food to satisfy our physical hunger, we have to fill ourselves with Jesus to satisfy our spiritual hunger. In other words, as food is necessary for body, so Jesus is necessary for growth in spiritual life. We have to come to him in faith and trust, and humbly ask him, "Lord, give us this bread always."